episode 328 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 6th of April 2025. I'm Joe, and with me are Phelim.
Finally, somebody's standing up to Herd in McDonald Island. Pricks.
Graham.
Hello.
And Will.
Hello.
We don't mention that, Phelim, that's all too depressing.
I've not come back.
Indeed. Before we get into the news, just a thank you to everyone. It's been 5 years this week since I got fired and started doing this completely independently.
Wow.
Wow. Time flies.
Yeah, 5 years since like COVID got really bad and all that. But yeah, anyway, thank you everyone who has listened, supported, hooked us up with sponsors, and obviously thanks to the whole Late Night Linux family for all the shows that we all do. Not got much more to say apart from that, except just thanks.
Pat yourself on the back.
Oh, congratulations, Joe.
Thanks. Right, news then. Lately, there's been an increasing problem of AI crawlers just flooding all sorts of websites and services, and it is starting to affect quite a lot of open source projects and the Wikimedia Foundation. So we've got a couple of articles that we can link to about this, and I just thought it'd be a good idea for Phelim to have a moan.
Maybe I'm all for it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you're all for these AI companies just ignoring robots.txt and just scraping websites over and over again until they fall over.
And you could say that they've already been affected by the fact that their copyrighted code has already been taken years ago on the sly.
I wonder if this is, and I haven't read all the article, but I wonder if this is in part because as these models start getting access to the internet more and more, and people are asking questions like, go and read this website and tell me what this says, presumably they're not necessarily caching all of that information. And so every time someone asks a question, it goes off and fetches hundreds and hundreds of pages all at once and munges them all together to come up with an answer.
That is indeed part of the problem, yes. Because at first these chatbots didn't have access to the internet, but now they do. Yeah, they're going off and basically doing double duty on the websites.
So presumably this is only going to get worse then?
Pretty much.
And I also guess they're blocking ads, whatever the equivalent. I mean, I imagine this is Google. They're not paying any attention to any of the things that they ask us, mere human mortals, to pay attention to. Yeah, it's a shit situation. And you're right, it's only going to get worse and it's unacceptable.
Yeah, and there's some mitigations that are happening. Cloudflare, for example, as much as we hate them, they are feeding them poisoned data, just AI-generated slop, just to kind of compound the shit situation. And various other people have come up with proof-of-work software that makes it a little bit harder for the bots, but it also makes it harder for genuine people. And sometimes people are waiting like up to a minute for that to happen, which is not ideal.
This sounds like the beginning of some kind of dystopian sci-fi movie where the AI has been trained on data that was given to it so that it couldn't bypass ad blocking.
Or we've told it a load of wrong stuff and now it's just gone out there murdering us in the process.
The more we say, the web is just broken, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, later this week, we're recording 2.5 Admins, and Jim from that show, his website has been hit by this. So he's going to go into some of the technical details and numbers and everything. So do check that out.
Has he put anything like Anubis in front of it? Not
yet, I don't think.
Is he thinking of?
I don't know. I'll find out when we record.
I want to know now.
You could always ask him.
I'll wait. I'll walk the dog on Thursday night and I'll listen.
So as well as open source projects and websites in general just getting absolutely hammered by this, and these are all sites that provide, I would think, primarily documentation, something like Wikipedia is really going to get hammered. Now, presumably they have got a good layer of caching and CDN in front of them, but then this is going to cost them more money because people are stealing, in inverted commas, their data, right?
Yeah, so it's not so much the text of Wikipedia, it's more the Wikimedia images and stuff that's the problem. Now, they do have a kind of CDN system, but how that works is they put the most commonly accessed stuff at the edge, as it were. But then they have the centralized server that they fall back to for the less frequently accessed stuff. And obviously, these bots are just accessing all the not frequently accessed stuff. So that's causing them a problem there. And you said like documentation, that is a big part of it, but it's also Git that's getting hammered. And like every single commit is getting hammered. And it's just stressing the DB and bandwidth and everything. It's just fucking the entire infrastructure, basically, of open source projects, websites, all sorts of shit. These people need to be stopped, frankly.
From a project perspective, yes, they need to not be made to bear the brunt of the cost of other people's searching and whims, and AI in particular, just hammering all of these sites. On the other hand, it really is quite handy when you can ask an AI model, why did this thing break? And it can point you at a particular commit and say, oh, this happened at this time. Go check that. So there must be a happy medium here, because some of this tooling is incredibly useful and does save an awful lot of time. So what are we asking for? Some kind of agreement that if you're running an AI model, then you will cache all of that data on a daily basis, or exchange caches between yourselves seems like really the only option. We need to move the cost from the people who are hosting this information for free to the people who are selling it on in a different style.
Well, definitely. They need to pay for access properly via APIs and stuff that are efficient and not just fucking web crawlers.
But if they did something like that, they wouldn't be able to exist. Oh no, how terrible.
Well, deals have been done with the likes of Reddit, for example.
Yeah, but that's Reddit also stealing from their own users. That's not Reddit actually paying every one of their users a fair amount for whatever they've put in. And, you know, in some cases that is just, you know, farts or daft memes or whatever. But sometimes it's all the work that Jim and those people from the ZFS group would have put into their whole r/ZFS or whatever it was. If you look at the base of it all, it's theft. That is what it is. I don't care what they say. It's theft. All of that has a dirty, stinking sort of background to any of those AI companies, because every single one of them has trained it without asking. So fucking dare. I fucking tried to not do it, but fuck them all anyway.
Yeah, well done, Joe.
Well, they don't call ChatGPT the plagiarism machine for nothing, do they?
I remember when we first started talking about this, I drew a comparison between somebody reading a book and then telling their friends about what was in that book and AI, and I look rather silly now, don't I?
Well, most AI apologists look a bit silly now, don't they?
Fuck you. I think it's still a very useful tool. I think it hasn't quite found the way, well, it hasn't at all found the way in which it can be done sustainably yet. I hope that we get there, because I think that the good that it does or can do is worth somebody somewhere paying for it. And as a user, it shouldn't be me. Somebody else should do it. Billionaires, that's who should pay for it.
But if it can't even be like realistically funded right now, it's all like magic beans nonsense. Like, there is no way that you could cost this up and go, oh yeah, if we do this and we charge people this, then it'll all make sense. Because there is no sense to the scale of the energy consumption, to the machines, to the harvesting of shite that isn't theirs.
I'm conflicted because I do agree with Will. I think there are some unique things coming out of this. We won't go into it, but I do think there's some unique insights that large language models can deliver that we might not otherwise be able to create. But I'm increasingly seeing that this is a business model. The companies behind this have basically recognized a way of exploiting something, which is the internet of data and all of our data and all of our things. And they're doing that quickly now at a time when they're immune from any kind of pushback. And that's utterly wrong.
You're reminding me of 2020, 2021, roughly that time when we talked about NFTs, and you tried to be an apologist for that, Graham. And you said that, there's some potentially unique applications of that.
So I agree. I accept it. I'm naive and I get fascinated by the technology and the algorithm, I suppose, without recognizing just how fucked up the human race can be.
Yeah, there's always a few bad apples, and they just happen to have billions of dollars now.
Now, you said we weren't going there.
Okay, this episode is sponsored by 1Password. Do your end users always, and I mean always without exception, work on company-owned devices and IT-approved apps? I didn't think so. So how do you keep your company's data safe when it's sitting on all those unmanaged apps and devices? 1Password has an answer to this: extended access management. 1Password Extended Access Management helps you secure every sign-in for every app on every device, because it solves the problems traditional IAM and MDM can't touch. 1Password Extended Access Management is the first security solution that brings all these unmanaged devices, apps, and identities under your control. It ensures that every user credential is strong and protected, every device is known and healthy, and every app is visible. 1Password Extended Access Management is security for the way we work today, and it's now generally available to companies with Okta and Microsoft Entra, and in beta for Google Workspace customers. 1Password's award-winning password manager is trusted by millions of users and over 150,000 businesses, from IBM to Slack. And now they're securing more than just passwords with 1Password Extended Access Management. Secure every app, device, and identity, even the unmanaged ones, at 1password.com/late-night-linux, all lowercase. That's 1password.com/late-night-linux. There was a bit of a kerfuffle recently when Rachel Kroll published a brief blog post called "You Might Want to Stop Running ATOP." And it didn't go into any details, but just said, uninstall ATOP, trust me. And this spread like wildfire, and everyone was panicking like, oh, what is the CVE and everything. And then it turned out that, yeah, there were some bugs in it that could maybe, in theory, possibly be exploited. But it turned out to be a bit of a non-story.
What does ATOP do exactly?
Well, it's just one of the fancy tops, I think.
Is it the kind of thing that people run constantly in the background, like in a tmux or screen session?
I suppose potentially.
I'm quite conflicted here because we've seen this a couple of times in the past where someone has been vague posting about potential security issues and then not going into any more details. And on the one hand, you think, well, then maybe this is a fair warning where they have advised the upstream project and a CVE is forthcoming and it's so important that you need to stop using it right now. But you're restricted from telling people exactly what's going on because you have done things the correct way and you've made a responsible information available to the project and so on and so on. And so you probably should warn people off of using it. But on the other hand, we've seen this kind of empty concern over a couple of projects where people have said, oh, there's a really big hole, and it turns out to be nothing. And the reputation of ATOP is potentially in jeopardy here. Now, I think this was all dealt with fine, but it does raise the question, if you find a security hole in something and you have disclosed it responsibly, should you just keep your mouth shut, or should you register a domain name with a funny name vulnerability like we've seen in the past? I don't know. I think probably you should just keep quiet.
I'm inclined to agree, really. I think that there are procedures in place and you should follow them.
Yeah, I mean, I think unless something's out in the wild and actually being exploited, well, to a large extent, maybe. When often these things come out, I often go, oh, I want to know what it is, and I promise I won't tell anybody, and I wish they'd tell me just so I could know. But yeah, it doesn't work like that, does it?
No, and in this case, Rachel didn't really know that there was a huge problem, but having noticed that there were certainly bugs there, she felt it was like worth just warning people. She didn't have time to like properly test it and all the rest of it. And it was just a casual thing on a blog post.
Yeah, but I think it's like one of those things of like, if I say something or say a famous person says something, they're not the same thing. And that, I think having that, literally the readership of your blog, whatever, it's quite a powerful thing when you have high numbers, and you should probably just talk to the project and highlight it to them.
I think there's another thread to this problem, which is that people like Hacker News and Reddit fucking love a story about something which is mysterious. And so even if you did just make a casual observation on social media, for example, and it got picked up by Hacker News, let's say, you can guarantee it's going to be at the top of the front page for ages with people speculating about what it might be. So it's a really difficult problem. It really is.
I think the deep state got to ATOP. That's what I think.
Well, clearly Gia Tan has been at work here again. Dash to Panel lives on thanks to Zorin sponsorship. So a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how the Dash to Panel maintainer had put in a bit of a nagging please donate thing. People had lost their shit over it. And then he just kind of said, well, fuck you, then I'm not going to do it anymore. Well, Zorin have decided to regularly donate to keep the project alive because they rely heavily on it, which is sort of how open source should work, I think. So well done for that. But then on the other hand, Zorin OS 17.3 takes the brave step of changing default browser, according to the register. So they're now shipping Brave instead of Firefox.
Negative points there.
Yes, very much negative points, because not only do people refer to it as the hate browser because of who is in charge of it and his political donation in the past.
It's okay to hate if you do it in secret.
Yeah, obviously. And also the crypto bullshit and other shady shit that they've done. We'll link to an old post, Stop Using Brave Browser. I mean, this is not a good move by Zorin. I don't know what the fuck those Irish lads are thinking, quite frankly. I think it's just knee-jerk reaction to the stuff we talked about fairly recently that Firefox was doing, the kind of poor decisions that they'd made with regards to the privacy stuff.
Yeah, and I think as we joked about at the time, it's like even the worst thing that Firefox has done is not even beginning to enter on the things that anything that's based on the others have done. And Brave is right up there as well.
Yeah, and in fairness to Zorin, they have kind of turned off some of the more egregious features by default. But just don't fucking use Brave. Come on. Obviously, they considered some of the downstream forks of Firefox, but Zorin have got a company to run, and they don't really want to rely on one-person projects and, you know, smaller projects. But you'd think that they could maybe take Firefox, remove the shit that they don't like, and rebuild it. I mean, it's a big fucking code base to build, but again, they're running a business. They could probably stretch to that, I feel.
Even if Firefox was to be everything that we thought they may possibly be thinking about doing, it doesn't even put them on the same level as a Chrome-based browser. Like, it's stupid. It's just leave Firefox as is, and it would have been a better choice than anything else.
Well, certainly Brave, yeah.
Or Chrome.
Yeah, I mean, Brave is open source, to be fair, but it's just got a horrible stink about it, hasn't it?
Well, much like the other one that people suggest every time, which they shouldn't either.
Yeah, the from scratch one, which is going nowhere as far as I can see.
Sad.
Well, I had high hopes for it until it turned out to be a no politics zone, in quotes, because we all know what that means.
Yeah, but we're a no politics zone as well, I'd like to say.
Oh, yeah, we're very much, we'd never touch on politics on the show. I made you shut up about the tariffs, for example.
What tariffs?
Yeah, exactly. I do like that America is having their Liz Truss moment.
Is there Donald Trump lettuce anywhere?
Unfortunately, I suspect he'll last significantly longer than a lettuce.
You know, none of us will get into the States ever again now.
I wouldn't go there if you fucking paid me, so I don't care. Phelim, you linked to Look Mum No Computer on Steam.
Yeah, so if anybody doesn't know, Sam, whose second name I don't actually know, and maybe he has never made it public, but he has a channel called Look Mum No Computer where he does all sorts of crazy tech stuff, quite a lot of audio stuff, as I'm sure Graham would know, but he takes old sort of telephone exchanges and does mad stuff with them, like connects them to MIDI sequencers and all sorts of crazy stuff. And he has been working on a game with Bitfather called Look Mum No Computer, which you can search for in Steam. And if you're into that sort of stuff, you could add it to your wish list, because I'm sure it will be excellently done. He's got essentially what is a going out fixing stuff with a backpack, and in the backpack you can like tweak actual audio files, and he's got amazing music on that you can actually play around within the game. So it's a crazy looking game. It looks like crazy in a good way, especially if you're into music, electronic stuff, and old computer tech. It looks really cool. It's
got a slightly Amiga-ish look to it, I think.
Yeah, it's fair.
Certainly retro.
And if you're not on his YouTube channel, just bloody sign up to it. It's fantastic. Just crazy stuff.
A huge fan of his other channel, This Museum Is Not Obsolete, which is him fixing up these old telephone exchanges and bizarre bits of equipment. I have watched a few of his music videos and I have enjoyed them, but I think I'd likely to just buy this just to support him. It's a worthy cause, I think.
Yeah, same. Because I would love to go visit the actual museum, but it is a bit out of the way.
And it is going to support Linux, crucially.
Yeah, that is actually true. Yeah, 2404.
And presumably SteamOS as well on the Steam Deck.
And refreshingly low hardware requirements as well, 4 gig of RAM. I mean, yes, it's a bit of an Amiga game, but nevertheless, that's nice to see.
It looks like LibreOffice downloads are increasing, and the numbers are reasonably impressive.
That means that the openoffice.org numbers are even higher.
Probably, yes. Yes.
I'm sorry. This is great.
It is great. Close to 1 million downloads per week, and that's just the Windows and Mac versions. We have no idea, really, how many people are using it in distros of Linux. I mean, it's probably way less than that, but nevertheless, 1 million downloads a week and an estimated 200 million regular users is pretty good going.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's an incredible number. Well done to the team, because LibreOffice just keep plugging away. They keep doing the best job that they can. Well done, team. Well done, Mike.
I was waiting for the but there.
Well, I feel like they could be more ambitious, but that's not great of me. I think they're doing a good job.
Well, they're doing a good job on probably the most boring type of software. The type of software that we all need to use, but no one's excited to use an Office suite, are they? I mean, maybe some people are, but...
Oh, I think some people really are. They really, really, really are, but yeah.
Okay, but most normal people, shall we say, use an Office suite regularly through necessity. And I think fair play to them for not, trying to put AI bullshit in it.
Don't give them ideas.
That's the great thing about GTK1, though. It's really difficult to bolt AI in there.
But, they don't change things for the sake of it. It's been consistent and solid, and they just gradually iterate on it and improve it slightly here and there. It's an unsung hero of open source, I think. Okay, this episode is sponsored by Tailscale. Go to tailscale.com/LNL. Tailscale is the easiest way to connect devices and services to each other, wherever they are. Everyone these days has a VPN as a sponsor, but Tailscale isn't like those. This isn't about hiding your browsing habits from coffee shop owners, and it's not about watching Netflix in another country. Tailscale is a proper VPN for connecting your devices securely. It's great for companies, and it's great for self-hosters. Tailscale runs on all the major platforms and is based on WireGuard. It's really easy to set up without opening ports, thanks to NAT traversal. That's one of the reasons loads of the Late Night Linux family hosts use Tailscale. Tailscale lets you give apps, IDEs, subnet routers, and other nodes in your tailnet secure access to any other resource in your network without exposing that resource to the public. Site-to-site networking lets DevOps connect the infrastructure their team relies on to securely transfer data between resources such as web applications and databases. Tailscale's personal plan will always be free, so support the show and try Tailscale out for free today. You'll get up to 100 devices and 3 users for free at tailscale.com/LNL with no credit card required. That's tailscale.com/LNL. Firefox maker Mozilla prepares Gmail like Thundermail. That's an article in the Register. We can link to the original forum post by Ryan Sipes. So they're going to have some proper services. Thunderbird Appointment, which is for calendar stuff. Thunderbird Send, which is a kind of reboot of Firefox Send. Thunderbird Assist, which is AI bullshit, and they should not do. And then Thundermail, which is a sort of Gmail competitor. And the idea is that there will be probably some free tiers, but it will ultimately be paid services. My gut reaction is good luck, and I hope you succeed, but I have my doubts.
Thunder, thunder, thunder.
I know. I was going to say they should have called it Thundermutt.
I think this is about the most exciting thing I've heard coming out of Mozilla in the last couple of years. This is something that I could actually see myself paying for and being happy to pay for, and also be happy that I'm actually supporting Mozilla in some way. Gmail has been very, very good. It's a great service. It's been super reliable, and it's been free since the beginning. They tried to charge for it for a little while there, where they tried to migrate everybody that had one of these legacy apps for domains accounts over to a paid-for account. But thankfully, they dropped that. So I think value for money, Gmail has been very good. However, the things like intercepting every single link in every single email, and when you click on it, it goes via Google services. and tells them what you're clicking on is starting to get a little bit tiresome. And because I have this, what is effectively a corporate account for no money, I don't see adverts in Gmail. My wife has a free account and I see a lot of adverts in her mail. So I'm grateful for not having adverts in there, but I also don't want them snooping on that kind of stuff. And so if I can pay for a reasonable amount of money to Mozilla to provide this service, then I am actually very happy to do that.
Hang on, I've just opened an email in my Gmail account and there's several links in there and there are no redirects or anything on that. It's just straight linked to the thing that it's supposed to link to.
Is it though? If you click on the link, does it actually go to google.com first and then redirect?
No, it does not.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Mine does.
Maybe you're just not as cool as me then.
Yeah.
Are you sure you haven't got some dodgy extension or something?
No, I absolutely have not. I'm just trying to find a link now that I can click on. Here we go.
So I get it when I get clickable images in Gmail. I'm just going through now. If it's a link in an email, a raw link, then it's not changed.
Interesting. So if you click a image, which is a link, you get redirected.
I don't have images on, so maybe that's why I've never seen this.
It absolutely was doing it because I was searching for how to make it not do it last week. So maybe they read my mind and turned it off again. It absolutely has been doing this.
They knew you were searching for it and thought, shit, he's onto us.
Quick, change the van.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, I still think this is a good, out of all of the crazy money-making schemes they've cooked up, this is about the best one I've heard.
Well, I think that's because it's coming from the Thunderbird people rather than the other bits of Mozilla, because it's quite a complicated structure.
I've got to say, I do like the idea of that JMap system. I had looked at it a few years ago, but because it was only one person doing it, it was never going to get fully accepted and clients were going to support it. But maybe this will drive that to help. And maybe we could get a nice new JSON-based system.
Yeah, it's like JSON-based IMAP, right?
Yeah, essentially. But it fixes a bunch of other stuff too, or quirky bits that are a bit of a nightmare. So, yeah, it would be nice to see that. It'd be nice to see that stuff get invigorated again, because, to be quite honest, I prefer email over so many other ways of communicating.
The pitfall I see is that they don't invest in it properly and it ends up limping along for some years and then slowly dying. That is quite likely to happen, which worries me, but I guess we'll see.
Let's do a quick KDE corner. Roadmap for a modern Plasma login manager.
So David Edmondson wrote that back in, I think it was between 4 and 5, or certainly in the process of 5, KDE stopped using KDM in favor of SDDM. And that was a more sort of desktop agnostic one. It was a lightweight Qt based login manager. And unfortunately, that has kind of bitten them a bit in the fact that it can't do a lot of stuff that it would essentially need to reinvent the wheel every time. Things like power management, SDDM has its own version of that, rather than using other libraries because it's trying to be desktop agnostic. It can't bring in, say, the KDE stuff. So they are bemoaning the fact that GNOME's GDM is, because it only works for GNOME, it is kind of seen as one of the best ones out there, because they're able to essentially start a very low weight GNOME shell and then use all the built-in things that have already been developed for the login manager, and therefore take advantage of screen readers, power management, all those types of things. So there is a project which isn't quite official yet, but they're getting together, and he says if people are interested and want to join in, to get in touch, and they have a matrix room, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that goes. And I think, to be honest, this is a good idea.
All right, and Academy 2025 is happening, although they need to really sort their shit out, because it took me about 5 clicks to find out when it's happening.
Yeah, it's from the 6th to the 11th of September, and it's going to be in Berlin this year.
Put that on the main page. Come on.
I don't know why it's not there. It's really weird. I got it from my RSS feed from Planet KDE, but yeah, I think somebody forgot to update something.
I had to go to the register page to find out when it actually is, and it's not even bolded or anything there. It's just in a paragraph of text.
I imagine that they're on the process of working on that.
I would hope so. But anyway, yes, go and have fun.
Yes.
Right, well, we better get out of here then. We'll be back next week when it'll be discoveries and stuff. But until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Phelim.
I've been Graham.
And I've been Will.
See you later.